Hello and welcome to Miniatures Rundown. Today we're talking Age of Sigmar again with Skaven, the best faction in Age of Sigmar.
Yes, the stab.
Objectively. Ding dong,
Bell.
the Skaven's here, they're all here, the Skaven's here. Ding dong, the furry Skaven are here. So this is the one we were waiting for to see.
Yeah.
Man, this is the first time an edition of a Warhammer game has ever come out, and I've actually been like a major fan of one of the factions.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because, Stormcast I like, but I don't give a crap about Cruel Boys.
Yeah,
and, Marines or Tyranids, fine, whatever. And before that, like, Nighthaunt, no.
Yeah. Necrons from 9th edition, no.
No, but now, Skaven.
Skaven.
Enjoying it while it lasts.
And a lot of good stuff that you like in general, like Riot Ogres, which we're about to talk about.
We'll talk about those. But first, let's talk about the things that we've seen. So, This is the faction battle. What is it? The faction pack? I always forget what they call that.
I think it's called a faction pack.
Faction pack, yeah. So this is the basically the index of Age of Sigmar. It's the faction pack, and kind of like the Stormcast one, it comes with at least 4. Eshin players are mad. We'll talk about that later. First, let's talk about the traits ubiquitous to all of our Skaven friends and masters. First off is the Lurking Vermintide, which is pick a friendly Skaven unit that has not been deployed, set up that reserve in the tunnels below. It has now been deployed.
So it is interesting, because we already talked about the Stormcast, that the Stormcast says there has to be one on the board.
There has to be more models on the board than in reserve.
This doesn't.
Does this mean I can null deploy?
I don't know. Maybe there's a core rule that says you can't?
Yes.
But.
I also find it interesting that this is also, for the first time in a while, we've had the two main factions for an edition being teleport shenanigans factions.
Yes, so Stormcast had it last time. Nighthaunt didn't have it when that came out.
Right.
They got it later.
That's something they got later when they kind of realized that maybe Ghost should be able to do that.
Yeah, I guess.
But this time, they're both getting it from the start. They are very different, though. So, gnaw holes.
This would probably make games start faster.
Gnaw holes.
Yes.
Gnaw holes are different. They're faction train for Skaven. They're not going away. But instead of setting all 3 up, you don't set up any at the start of the game. Instead, it's just once per battle round, at the start of the battle round, if there are fewer than 3 gnaw holes on the field, you set one up.
Which basically, from the story, they're erupting from the ground, which is awesome. Now, already coming out with all of the wood and stuff over top is a little weird, but you know what?
No, they pre-built the gnaw hole and then drilled it up. That's what happens.
Oh, sure.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
Or they just build real fast. It's like Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, we're done.
9 inches from all enemy units, 1 inch from all friendly units, and more than 3 inches from all objectives and other terrain features.
Sure.
So no dropping it on objective. So it's kind of a little more restricted than Stormcast.
Yeah.
And you can only have 1 per turn. But it's interesting. I like the way they've done that. It feels very thematic.
It does.
And I always hated setting up my gnaw holes at the beginning of the game and having them be potentially useless.
Yeah, agreed. Especially when they could be destroyed by your opponent.
Right.
So you set it up somewhere and their monster just walks over to it and kills it, and
Which
then
is
it's
still
gone.
a thing that can happen.
It is, but the fact that you can spawn one every time.
You can keep, so you can play whack-a-mole gnaw hole.
Yeah.
Whack-a-gnaw hole.
Whack-a-hole.
Yeah.
Leave it in.
You can play whack-a-gnaw hole, right? Like you pop one up, your opponent goes over and squishes it.
Yeah.
But if your opponent's going over to squish your gnaw hole, they're not doing something else.
Yeah, agreed.
And if they don't squish it,
Then
you have a gnaw
things
hole.
happen.
This also is something where you can pop this up in their backfield if they leave it exposed. I really like this. It feels very Skaven.
Yeah, I agree. I like it a lot.
I also really like that we introduced brand new rules for retreating, finally having a very debilitating punishment, which is when you retreat now, you have a possibility to take more damage. In fact, not a possibility. You do take that. And then in Skaven, we're like, we're going to pretend we didn't hear that new rule. It's called Too Quick to Hit. And it's just Skaven infantry and cavalry don't care. They just
leave anyway.
You can just leave. And
Which
they do.
Is thematic.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I jokes aside, it is very thematic for Skaven to be the ones who go, no.
They just retreat with no penalty.
It makes more sense for them than the retreat and charge they used to have.
That's true.
We get to run away, and we're back.
Yeah.
You can pick a friendly Skaven unit in the tunnels below and set up that unit wholly within 6 inches of a friendly gnaw hole. That's how you teleport.
Yeah. You can't do it normally, and you only get 1 gnaw hole per turn.
Right.
So unlike Stormcast, where you could set up anywhere, you can only set up near a gnaw hole, and you only get so big of a
because it's
area.
It's more than within 6 inches, and you
so
can't
maybe you don't want to null deploy.
Unless you want to drip feed your army in 1 unit at a time.
That controversial 1 at a time strat.
50% of the time, it doesn't work at all. You can also, remember redeploy?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Skaven, kind of like how Stormcast got Finest Hour,
Yeah.
Skaven can get redeploy.
Well, that's in addition to regular redeploy, because that's still in the game.
It is, but now this is just pick a friendly non-monster Skaven that is not in combat and was not set up this turn. This is during your enemy's hero phase. They can just normal move.
Oh, this is enemy hero
Yeah,
phase.
yeah. This is
I missed that part.
so because redeploy is at the end of your opponent's movement phase.
Yes, end of your opponent's movement.
This you could combine with redeploy. You could do the same movement twice, I think.
Yeah, I don't know why not.
So you could move someone to screen during your opponent's hero phase. Before their movement phase,
Yep.
before their shooting phase. Remember, at the end of your opponent's shooting phase, you get to shoot. So you could move up that rattling gun
You like move and then
and then fire. Like you can move people into firing range. Because we're going to talk about the War Scrolls in a second, and the Skaven War Scrolls are not nearly as impressive stats-wise.
which they shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be. They have more shenanigans.
Yeah.
And I love that. It feels very Skaven. Battle formations. We've got at least 4. We've got the Clan Molder, Clan Pestilence, Clan Skyer, and Verminous. Eshin players.
I'm surprised they left Verminous in and didn't put Eshin in.
Verminous is the catch-all now for, like, Horde mode. That's why.
I understand that, but they were kind of the, like, troops
Yeah.
and not much else.
Yeah.
So they didn't have as much flavor, so I thought they would just be the everybody else.
And I think they still are. I think they're just that Eshin are down to, like, 2 units, man.
That's true. They cut one of them and then didn't remake them.
The only one we've seen shown off is the Fleshmeld Menagerie, which is the Clan Molder one.
Yep.
Basically, you pick 3 friendly non-hero Molder units, so your 3 units of Rat Ogres,
Yep.
and then roll a d6 for each of them. A third of the time, you're getting d3 mortal wounds in yourself. 2/3 of the time, you're getting +1 attacks, and then 1/3 of the time, you're getting a 5-up warden into addition to that.
Yeah, I love that it's in addition to the effects of 3 through 4,
Yeah.
which
so
they do a couple times in here, I think.
They do. So, but a third of the time, you're just hurting yourself.
That sounds very...
I mean, it's very Skaven, but it's a good thing we see later there's a way to heal yourself, because I don't think I'd be wanting to do that a lot.
I would.
Once in a generation, which is a few years for Skaven. So we've seen that they basically, what they gave us the rule for here is the Warp Lightning Vortex, which is our endless spell. Kind of annoying, because I wanted to see some actual spell lore.
Yeah,
I guess
agreed.
this counts. If you are not familiar with the Warp Lightning Vortex, lucky you. It has been the bane of the game for like basically since it came out.
Yeah.
It was kind of always either really bad or way too good. It looks more reasonable now.
I agree. I think this is fine.
Casting value of 7. It's got a 7-up banishment, a 6-up save. You have to set it up in a triangle. I love that they just specify it's a dang triangle. Because it used to be, well, you had to measure exactly this far apart. It's like, no, it's a 6-inch triangle.
Yeah.
just set it up as a 6-inch triangle. Basically, every enemy within 6 inches can take D3 mortals on a 4, and subtract 2 from run rolls and charge rolls while they're within 6 inches. And if you move across it, you get D3 mortals.
So it's kind of like a roadblock.
And that's what it was.
Yeah.
It's just, it no longer means you can't fly, because that used to be a thing.
Yeah.
It no longer automatically does mortals. It's a little like, and it's also way easier to get rid of.
Yeah.
Because,
Being a 6-up save and 7 wounds, it's going to go down.
right, and a 7-up banishment.
Yeah.
Statistically, you'll get rid of it.
And it's, what's the casting? Casting's on a 7.
Yeah.
So just over 50% of the time to cast it.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to see some other actual spells, but I'll take that, because it's our first time we've seen a faction endless spell.
Yeah.
It looks decent.
It's fine. And well, okay. It's fine, especially since you get to take it in addition to your other stuff, and it's free.
Right. That's the thing. So it can't be too good. That looks fine for free.
That looks fine for free.
Yes, it doesn't look too powerful for
It's
free.
like, I guess I'm going to summon this out and see what happens. It's fine. If I had to pay points for that, I wouldn't.
It depends on the points. But moot point. Speaking of moot points,
No.
Lord Screech Vermin King.
I like how they went like, okay, so here's the coolest, biggest guy in your faction.
Well, to be fair, they did pick Krondus.
They did pick Krondus, you're right. Krondus and Yndrasta.
It's just that Krondus was so bad last edition.
yeah.
And Screech was not bad last edition. He was just kind of a catch-all.
He was a catch-all, and he was outclassed by some of the other ones.
Yes, and he still is a catch-all. 13 wounds, 4-up save, 10-inch move. Not super tough. You get to... So he has the Dreaded 13th, which is a spell, because he is a caster. He's only a single caster.
Yep. Wizard 1.
Yep, he comes in built in with a 5-up ward all the time. You roll 13 dice for every 5 up. You pick a visible enemy unit within 13 inches. 13 dice. Every 5 up, you inflict 1 mortal wound and return 1 slain model to a friendly clan rats unit wholly within 13 of Screech himself. Kind of niche, that second part, because it's the clan rats unit have to have lost models.
And not be dead.
And be within 13 inches wholly of you. And then you have to deal mortal wounds.
It is a lot of ands.
A lot of ands, but it is thematic and funny.
Even without the reanimating clan rats, it's still decent as a mortal wound spell.
Yeah. He gets to shut down commands as well, and room control score. And then he has kind of very similar to what he had last time. He's a buff piece, where he basically, you pick something based on one of the clans and buff that clan around you.
Yes. So the weird part about this one, I'm not sure if it was like that last edition because I don't remember him much from the last one, but it was you can't pick the same one multiple times. And they only affect that clan. So if you take him and you're all Verminous, you get 1 buff in the game.
You get 1. Yeah.
That's a little iffy for me.
Yeah, it's supposed to like cycle through the clans. It feels like you only take this guy if you are playing multi-clan.
Now, to be fair, he does have all of the keywords.
Yes.
So he buffs himself at least.
Yes.
But the once per game is a little interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But some of these are very powerful.
Yeah. Master Clan get +1 to casting. Verminous get +1 to charge. Makes sense. Scryer get +1 to hit rolls for shooting attacks.
We'll get to that in a second.
Very good. Eshin get +1 rend for melee attacks. Pestilence priests add 1 to their chanting rolls, which is that the thing that gives you an extra?
Yes.
So they could possibly get 7 in a turn if they get maxed out.
I think so.
And then Molder heal D3 on every friendly within 13.
Yes. So speaking of Molder, we have Rat Ogres. So we finally get to see their War Scroll of the best new model.
What? Is this the only thing we've seen a War Scroll for in? Oh no, because we saw in the new box.
Yeah, this is
the first one.
This is the first and only because the other ones are redos of old things.
Yeah.
So 6-inch move, 5-up save, 4 wounds, which is important because remember that Molder thing can damage you for D3.
Yeah.
1 out of every 3 gets a warp fire gun. So this is different. The unit size has now gone to 3s instead of 2s.
Yes.
Kind of sucks if you had them built out of that. I didn't have any Rat Ogres built, so
Yeah,
I'm okay. Warp fire gun is a 10-inch range attack with 2d6 attacks that hits on 2s, wounds on 4s, rend 2, damage 1, but has shoot in combat.
Yeah.
So kind of like we talked about with Kronus and his breath weapon, no more mortal wounds.
Yeah.
It makes me interesting to see what they're going to do with Thanquol's warp fire bracers.
That's true because they warp fire has always been the just auto mortal wounds.
Yes, it has been, and it looks like they're getting away from that.
Yeah.
Which is probably for the best.
Yeah, I agree.
But they're not entirely getting away from it.
Yeah.
Their actual melee weapons, they've each got 5 attacks.
It's pretty good.
They hit on 4s, wound on 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage.
They also have an effect that can take D3 mortal wounds automatically, mortal damage, but get +1 attack in melee. So they can have 6 attacks each.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty strong.
It's a lot of punch. And then we get to the Warp Lightning Cannon. So, still moves 3 inches. It's got 8 wounds, 8 health, 4-up save. They changed Warp Lightning a lot. This is much less of a slot machine.
Yes.
So, number 1, it's only 20-inch range. That's a pretty big drop.
It is. It was 30?
It was a lot. Yeah, it was like 33 inches or something like that. It was used to be like a long-range gun. You still roll 2d6 attacks. You have to hit on a 4.
Yeah.
And then every hit just does a mortal.
Yes. So you roll a die, and then you have to compare the dice that you roll to the number of attack dice, blah, 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 blah. So it was like you could get turbo lucky and get 12 mortal wounds, or you could need 6s and you get 2.
Yes.
This one has random amount of attacks, but always on a 4.
Yes. Though you could use Screech to buff that to a 3.
That's true.
That is nice because the Warp Lightning Cannon always just kind of didn't have synergy.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't buff its hit or anything. Like, it just did what it did.
Yeah.
Which was kind of nice. But now it can be buffed to hit or debuffed to hit. And it does still have more Warp Lightning. If you're nearby a Scryer hero, so the new Warp Engineer, for example.
And this is any Scryer hero. It used to just be the Ancients hero.
Yes. You can just add 6 to the attack characteristic, but every 1 you roll gives you D3 mortals.
Yes.
So on average, you can survive 3 of those before you die.
But it is 2d6 plus 6 attacks.
And it's resolved after the shoot ability.
Oh, that's true.
So you get to
Blow them up.
and then blow up.
And then to blow up.
Cut to SpongeBob, and then you blow up. Boom. So yeah, it's less of a slot machine, but more buffable, I guess.
Yeah.
And it still has its mortals. I like that.
I like it too.
And then we also got to see the gnaw hole terrain feature itself. It's got a 4-up save and 6 health, so it's gonna die to anything that like really wants to kill it.
That even focuses on it a little bit.
You can't, if you move across it, you get D3 mortals. And then you can go back into it or get out of it with fully within 6 inches.
Yeah. So it's very similar to what it was with the added one that you can respawn every turn.
Yeah, and it is also worth noting that this also adds a reinforcement effect to Skaven.
Yes.
Skaven infantry can come out of these very similar to the Stormcast. It's half the models rounding up, wholly within 6 inches of friendly knothole, and more than 3 inches from all enemy units. So no dropping them into combat.
Yeah.
I like that. It feels like Skaven should have endless Vermintide more than Stormcast should.
Well, Stormcast have it once per game. This is just your movement phase. So you can do it every turn.
Once per turn, army, end of your turn.
Yeah.
So this does kind of encourage you to throw your clan rats screaming at the enemy and have them explode.
It makes sense.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. And we also saw some of their stuff for Spearhead, same thing. We saw the Grey Seer. We don't know if it's how this is going to look in game or in normal game.
Yeah, we don't know how it's going to translate, so I'm not going to focus on it too much.
They are definitely Master Clan Clasters. So, at a glance, this doesn't seem as bang out good at Stormcast.
But you get double the models.
You get a lot more models on the field.
Yeah.
And I think you get more movement shenanigans.
Agreed.
So I still think it's pretty equal. But we'll have to see when it actually comes out.
Yeah.
This is going to be a long month.
It's going to be a long month.
But we'll be here with you during this long month to keep covering the faction focus size. Focus-iopods.
Focus-opodes.
Focus-opodes.
I like those.
And let us know below if there's anything you're particularly excited about. If it's anything except Skaven, you're wrong.
Bye.